And we're live for real this time. Hey everyone, welcome you guys. I'm Yana with Recovery Fitness, and I'm super duper excited to have Neff and Karina with Hope Dealers Be the Change on with us to talk about the incredible work that they're doing. And all the wonderful accomplishments and achievements. Congratulations on the ESL award, Neff. That's
Thank you.
a deal, super huge deal. Super
So
excited.
amazing.
And then not the local Association of Social Workers. I can't remember the nonprofit of the year award.
Right.
Half right.
Yep.
That's super exciting. I know we've known each other a little while, I think from both of our beginnings, really.
Right.
It's been so cool to see the organization. I want to say you ladies, but there's so many other people. They're doing such incredible work, but I wanted to just hear from you about, how you got started, where you're today, the wonderful work you both are doing and hopefully you're doing. I'd love to hear more and tell the folks that are listening more about what you do. I'm sure everyone needs to better know, but just in case someone out there does.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having us. We absolutely love Recovery Fitness, and I think Karina, Lee, and I took, this COVID time to really understand the physical wellness part, and we were able to take that time and work on ourselves, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically. And holy cow, you guys will be seeing us there. We're super excited to go to Brandon's class that he told us about on Thursday. So we are all in.
You ladies have been amazing. I followed your progress with your physical transformation. It's just been so inspirational.
Thank you. It's
You.
definitely been exciting and stressful, and I mean, we've learned to challenge each other, and it's been great. And we're both dedicated to it, and
it has not been great.
Yeah.
I really struggled in the beginning with starting and like giving up really the bad things that I was eating, because realistically everything has carbs in it, but trying to learn about better nutrition and what I was actually putting into my body, and really I really struggled with committing. But once I finally did commit and started to see progress, it becomes a little bit addicting. And just like Stephanie said, throughout the whole COVID and being isolated at home, we kind of built our own home gym little by little. So once I started implementing working out into what I was doing, the pounds just keep coming off and I feel better when I'm working out, mentally, not just I like what I'm seeing physically, but it mentally helps me.
Yeah, that's really amazing to see. I'm sorry, I know there's a lot of background noise and I can't seem to figure it out why there's background noise. I know Neff and I were playing around with it. I thought if I muted it. No, Melissa, it's not just your feed. We'll see how it goes. This isn't my
So Hope Dealers was kind of started, well, not kind of. I started Hope Dealers after I lost my husband. He passed away of an overdose January 12th, 2017. And it was 100 days into my own recovery. And if I wasn't out in Virgin when that happened, I probably would have picked up. But because I was outside of Rochester and had to sit with those feelings in a sober environment, it made me really think about my recovery and what I needed. And my recovery has been different than other people. And I think that's, one of the amazing things about recovery is there's so many different pathways. There's so many different ways to do it. And so that's why I created Hope Dealers. And with saying that, just because the meetings and the 12 step didn't work for me, I have so many friends that it has worked for and changed their lives and they've grown with. And I love that. And I needed to find something for myself. So this originally was something to keep me sober because I really struggled with losing Justin and having to deal with that grief. Grief has always been a huge part of my active addiction. I had lost my daughter before I even picked up substances and was abusing them. She was alive for a day and passed away. I had a high risk pregnancy. And then I ended up losing my mom to ovarian cancer. And that one really, really hurt. I went to her house and I stole all of her Oxycontins, all of her Percocets. Do you guys hear my dog? Is that what the smiles?
It's because I think he sees her.
They're your best friends, and you know, so sorry for all your losses and all the trauma you've been through. We're kind of laughing at the dog, but it's such a serious part of your journey.
Right, it is. And it's been something that at first I didn't realize talking about and sharing it would help me. So I kind of kept all my feelings to myself and I didn't have the tools to express everything. On top of that, when I was 14 months old, I was adopted. So I spent the first 14 months of my life with my birth mother and then went and moved in with my adoptive family, which realizing now later on the trauma that I don't even know how to describe necessarily how I felt growing up. I just didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. And I've actually noticed like a lot of my friends who have been adopted are people in recovery or people who are still actively struggling. So it's a trauma and it's not something that you really think of being a trauma because it's exciting for parents who are adopting a child finding a forever home. But, as a child who went through that a little older, it's a hard situation that we don't realize puts, a big impact on our lives growing up. So yeah, I just, I went through a lot. I was a rebellious teenager. I ran away from my parents' house when I was 16. I was 15. I lived in group homes. I ran away from them. And eventually I was old enough where they stopped coming to look for me. When I was a teenager, I was raped 2 different times. So lots of traumas, and things I never talked about, but things that eventually led me to substance use disorder. Sorry, I'm kind of jumping around.
No, not at all. I think you have a very powerful story, and just talking about all those experiences. I know there are people out there that can relate, and that your story is helping. I think it's so common, it's not talked about a lot, the experiences of those that have been adopted. There's some very common feelings of belonging, of pain, of trauma, even when they're adopted very young. And there are a lot of people that suffer in silence as well.
Right. So yeah, that was just a lot for, me, and without realizing it, I started to self-medicate. And I eventually ended up getting addicted to heroin and cocaine and crack and anything I could find, I was taking. Um, Justin and I had become homeless. We lived in a shelter with our kids. We eventually got an apartment right on Clinton across from Burbank Street that was condemned within a week of us being there. So there was a lot of chaos. There were times that I thought about calling my dad and having him come take the kids. But that was selfishly, they were my safety net because they still gave me a little bit of accountability during active addiction. But eventually we did lose custody of them. And it took me from April 5th when I got arrested, and my dad took them that day, all the way until October 9th, 2016, April 2016 as well. But for me to find and stabilize in recovery, and, telling my kids that their dad died was definitely one of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. And I think the response from Jacob, the first thing him saying, was it an overdose, that my child thought to think of, was just, it solidified that I needed to continue my fight. And that's when Hope Dealers was born. It started off with just a group on Facebook doing inspirational posts. And then we did our first cleanup and outreach, which is where I didn't meet Karina. The first time I met Karina was actually at Overdose Awareness Day. Was that the first annual one, Karina? I think it was. It was a mess. My paperwork and everything was flying everywhere. Here's Karina just meeting me, and like, it was so windy out. I'm like losing my mind, and she's like,
no idea what she was doing.
No idea. And thank God for her, because she came in and fixed it, because that's what she does.
Not to say that like you didn't know what you were doing, but you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah, I know.
I just mean running a table. So I come from a background of well, in the professional world, of working in sales and running tables. I worked in cell phones for a really long time, so I always set up tables. It was kind of my thing. Like, I specialized in it. So when I moved back to New York, and so I'm not going to go into my whole story because I don't want to take up all of the time. But my story is somewhat similar to Neff's. I have had a lot of trauma in my life. My parents were both addicts. My grandparents took custody of me when I was 7. So I grew up with a lot of abandonment, and I never knew who I wanted to be. My grandparents were well off, we'll say it that way. And my mother and siblings lived in the city. So I grew up going to both houses. So it was very hard for me to figure out, did I want to be the, suburb girl that got good grades and was the all-star athlete, because I was when I was in high school, to eventually turning to substances. And for me, it just manifested slowly, but definitely enough to destroy my life. And where my story is a little bit different from Stephanie's is that I never did heroin. I never got to IV use. There's a lot of substances I actually never even did. But for me, it was in a compass of opiates, benzos, and uppers that I did that ended up being my demise. I lost the first love of my life at 19 in a drunk driving car accident, and it was extremely traumatic for me. I didn't know how to cope with that, so that contributed to my use. And a few years later, my grandfather passed away, which was also very sudden and unexpected. He died due to the hands of malpractice. So it really rocked my whole family, but also gave me more reason to keep using. And for me, it took jail. I moved to Florida. I was arrested on 22 felony charges. So that's a lot. But that's what saved my life. I ended up realizing I needed help, and I was in a long-term residential treatment program. So I was gone for almost a year. So 11 months and like 26 days with incarceration and the treatment. Then I met Legend's biological father, and I never thought I was going to have kids ever. And here I am, momming it up. So I ended up coming back to New York for that reason. When Legend's biological dad wasn't going to step up, I had exhausted every option in Florida and I needed help. So for me, my journey began in one of the fellowships, and I was extremely involved in the fellowship. And when I moved to New York, I had a very difficult time adjusting. And this is just me personally, because I feel the same way that Stephanie does. If you're involved in a fellowship, whichever it is, and that works for you, do it. But for me, that ended up changing. I found it to not be the same here that it was, that what I grew up in Florida. So,
well, but before this happened, she told me I was going to die.
Yeah.
Because I did not attend a 12-step.
That's very true. I was so involved in it that I was biased, and I didn't see any other way or any other pathway.
Oh no, I think we're back. You kind of froze up a little bit. No. All right, I think your screen froze up a little, Karina. You might be back.
Are we back?
You're back, yes.
Okay.
So sorry.
My transition was extremely difficult, and I was very biased. I thought that there was only one way, and this was the only way. I'm sure a lot of people really didn't like me when they first met me because I was very, very biased. So moving here is really for me, it's a God thing, and I really believe in divine intervention. So throughout my process, I chose to step away from the fellowship, and that's sort of what saved me. I started reaching out on Facebook because even though I grew up here, everyone that I knew here, I used to use with, and I had to reestablish a support network. And I'm going to say your name because I know you would be okay with it. Chris Cope. I will love you forever for this, because he is the person, when I posted on a forum, that private messaged me and was like, hey, and gave me your name, Yana, and a list of other women to reach out to. And Stephanie was one of them. And of course, when I stalked her on Facebook. I'm like, I'm not reaching out to her. She looks a little intimidating, which she's not at all, but looks can be deceiving. And eventually I did. And that is how we met. So we talked a little bit, and then it was Overdose Awareness Day. It was Swords event. And of course I was a little bit nervous, but I knew more than anything, like, I may have had some time in recovery, but I was a brand new mom and back into like the state that it all started for me. So I was not really in the best place. And it was just meant to be, because I came in and she was like running around all crazy, and I like didn't want to be rude. But finally, after I was like seeing her struggle with trying to manage the table, but also like mingle and let people know like what she was trying to start, I kind of rudely, politely was like, hey, can you move like over and let me do this? And she was like, yeah. And then after the event, she was like, I feel like I was meant to meet you. And I was like, me too. And we were like boo-hoo a little bit. And yeah, so the first cleanup I was there for, it was in August of 2017. And it was so like heartbreaking, but also motivating and inspiring, and something I hadn't experienced. Because again, I don't know, even though of course there were parts of my active use that led me to be homeless or living out of my car, but I didn't know what that portion of the disease looked like. So I think that for Stephanie, it hit her more deeply, but her passion sort of became mine. I think that once we started to see not only how much like the community needed help, when we started to branch out to see what else we could turn like this into, that outreach became something that I was really passionate about. Something that I learned from the fellowship, quite frankly. You can only keep what you have by giving it away. And really starting to actually make a difference in somebody's life it's really kind of indescribable. And what we have been able to, and it's obviously it's not just me and Stephanie, like we have an incredible team of people. We've had people come and go, but being a part of this organization from the beginning and watching what has happened, the things that we talked about, 3 years ago that have happened and beyond, sometimes we're both just like, how did we even get here? Because it seems a little bit surreal. And even you, Yana, watching your journey, you were one of the first people that I met in person when I moved back here, because I came to one of the hikes. And I remember I was so scared, but I like walked right up to you and I was like, hi, I'm Karina.
I remember it was a Turning Point, I want to say. We went Turning Point on the Tennessee River.
Yes. Yeah. And we walked all the way to the beach.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how these people do that.
You killed it. You totally killed it.
I did it. I did the whole thing.
Yeah, you sure did. It's so incredible how like the divine, I don't know, intervention, divine power works, and like you meet your people, like you two met your person, and you found your purpose too. And that's so important and necessary, and there's all these different, I love that you talked about the multiple pathways, because there's not a right or wrong way. There's not one way to enter recovery. It's like whichever way works for you, whether it may work for me, may not work for someone else. Like there's so many avenues. It's not like it used to be. I think even like 5-6 years ago, where it was, inpatient, outpatient, 12-step or you die kind of attitude. There's just it's such a vast and beautiful world, and there are all these different resources. And I love that, just watching your community grow and the movement grow. And you guys are so much more than cleanup. You do so many other things. You have a hotline. You help people get into treatment. You're both peers, certified recovery peers. So I think that's, love to hear more about that. And just so inspirational for me and so many.
So we both work at Hugh Third Oil. I was a repo chick before that. I got paid to break into cars, which was, fitting. I think the funniest moment for me while doing that was my dad getting a call from the principal of my daughter's school saying, Leo, your daughter or your granddaughter told us that your mom or her mom has been breaking into cars and taking the stuff out of them. And my dad just died. Because that was something I would have done in active addiction. And now here I am working at a legitimate place, but I'm breaking into cars and cleaning them out. And the kids know that I'm doing that. So perception. But I was really unhappy working there. It's a real stressful environment. And doing Hope Dealers, I knew I wanted to do something like that all the time. So when I was offered the position at Hugh Third Oil, a place where I had gone for treatment, I jumped at it. Not only is it a absolutely amazing place to work for, but the counselors, our bosses, the clients, it's just, it's home. You walk in there and you feel like home. It's, just a feeling of hope when you walk through those doors. And I absolutely love being able to work there and work with my best friend. And we have, talked about it on multiple different occasions. Like, we get paid to do this. Like, we've been doing this for 3 years for free, like close to the same thing. And now we're actually getting money for it. Like, what? It's completely amazing. And I don't think people realize how much they're helping us, because it goes full circle. I learned so much every day from working with my fellow peers and colleagues and clients. And I'm still learning and growing every day because I'm the same. I'm in recovery. We celebrate our time, but we know that our time, it's just for that day because we have choices. And if we, don't play the tape out and slip up, that can be it. So this is something that we all are constantly working on. And we just continue to fight for ourselves and one another. That's all we can do. And yes, multiple pathways again, because that stigma, not only outside of the recovery community, but inside of the recovery community, is life or death to some people. And that's really scary. And just, as the founder of Hope Dealers, there are things that I have a personal opinion on that I may not do or think, is okay, but it's about supporting someone else and their decision and their recovery. And that is where my passion comes in, and helping people see that, there's no right or wrong way. Each new way is a new you know, a new, I don't even know what to call it, a new pathway for someone else to try. So it's just really amazing. Recovery amazes me, and I'm just so grateful to be a part of Rochester's recovery community and to see how much we've all grown over the past few years. It's been amazing.
It really has been such an incredible journey with so many recovery community organizations popping up and providing opportunity, right? Instilling hope, providing opportunity, and giving people a place to go, a safe place to go and connect with others. I think our community is not just rich in resources; it's rich in strong recovery leaders, and those that really are leading the movement and creating ways, creating opportunities, and shattering the misconceptions and the stigmas, and that's how we grow and that's how we recover. So I think it's such a beautiful gift.
It
I
really is.
really want to say that not only, of course, do I agree, it's personal for me. It's so deeply personal because I was somebody that was once biased and only saw, one lane in one way. So for myself in my own growth, being able to be open-minded enough to actually see that there were other pathways, even just like, oh, okay, maybe this is okay, to getting to the point of, hey, no, like there are, multiple pathways, and being passionate about encouraging that and helping people figure out what that might look like for them, and all in the same breath trying to help break that stigma in our community in general, but really wholeheartedly like within the recovery community, because we have is each other. There is so much shame in the outside world for people with substance use disorder anyways. So when it's within our own communities that there is shaming and stigma, I feel like that's, gonna, for lack of like better words, that will kill more people. And knowing that at one point I was one of those people. So, how many people was I actually harming at that time in my life when this is what I believed? Not intentionally, right? Because I wholeheartedly believed that, but learning throughout this process that that's not necessarily right. And not saying that whomever you are, whomever is watching, and whatever you're doing, whether it is fellowship, church, hope dealers, recovery, or reading the Bible, or whatever it may be that's working for you, that who is anybody to tell you that that's not valid or that you're doing it wrong? And I share this, I always say this, and I always will, no matter what, where I am and when I'm live, that if you are a part of any kind of support network where you have people in your life that are telling you that what you're doing that's really helping and working for you is not right, then you need new people in your life. And please feel free to message me, because I will graciously be one of those people. Because telling somebody what they're doing is wrong is always going to be more harmful than helpful. And I'm not talking about sponsorship, because that's totally different, just to be clear.
No, absolutely. And you've shared in the feed, or in the comments rather, there's contact information for you guys, your website. I keep putting up the post, the 24-hour hotline, an opportunity to join you in the cleanup. So I just absolutely love and adore what you ladies and your team really does. And in order to be able to continue that work, I know you have needs as an organization. And I'm wondering if you can tell us more about the needs. I think some are on your website, some of the physical, the item donations, and also financial contributions. I know are always very nice. So if you can just share, what are your needs? How can we help you? How can Recovery help you? How can the people watching help you and Hope Dealers continue the incredible work that you're doing?
So we are always accepting donations of clothing, personal care items, survival gear, backpacks,
Not
and
winter clothes.
yeah, seasonal clothes. Just because we, operate out of a storage unit, we don't have a home base. That's a goal of ours, but we, the streets, that is our home base. We lace up and walk. Um, so we operate out of a storage unit and out of our home closets and home garages. And so we're always right now in need of summer clothing for men and women. We are in need of snack foods, waters, anything like that, blankets, survival gear, tents, everything. Nothing we ever get goes to waste. We also huh?
Go ahead.
Oh, we also give people home items, because we have a lot of people call our Hope line and say, I'm moving into my first apartment. I don't have anything. And luckily, we've had donations of stuff where we're able to give people pots and pans and silverware and little things that we, sometimes take for granted, thinking about, oh, I have all this stuff. What else, Karina?
Also, so not as Stephanie keeps sharing about for our outreach division, so it is very seasonal based. So if you are looking to donate clothes or going through your closet, please make sure that it's like summer gear. We're in desperate need right now of men's clothing, but of course every week we give out, so we're always trying to replenish. So for personal care hygiene items, it's like shampoo, conditioner, body wipes, soap. Travel size is always best because we make kits, tampons for women. Um, so really any kind of personal care hygiene. But I also really just want to say, like, Hope Dealers is not a grant funded organization. We do not receive grants from the state. We literally and solely rely on donations from our community, or it comes out of our own pockets. Let's just be real about it. We will pay with our own money before we are willing to give up. So for us, that includes like when our walkie-talkies don't work, since that's what we use to communicate. If we don't have money in our business account, then we're paying for the walkie-talkies because we have to be able to be in constant communication. Part of our rules and regulations is to wear poke-resistant gloves and use tongs. Well, when the gloves are worn out and we need to replenish those gloves, they're extremely expensive. Like for real poke resistant, I'm talking about, not just like, a little glove. For the teams that are actually doing cleanup, like that's a requirement. So on our website, if you go to hopedealers.com, there is a specific area that will always show you what we're in need of, whether you want to send packages of hygiene products. We have a wish list on Amazon, or if you just want to send a monetary donation, because I promise you, in the background, the people that you don't see who are really part of the core of Hope Dealers are the ones that manage our finances and, track every dollar that we spend so that we know what we need more of. So if you do feel like contributing, please don't hesitate to head to our website or even just reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you, because without you guys, everybody who's watching, without any person who might hear this or see this, we wouldn't be where we are. And that's just the truth of it.
our volunteers, our family, our tribe, they're the ones who make Hope Dealers what it is. I'm sure, Yana, you feel the same about recovery. The people who come there are the ones who plenish your soul and, you know, take on this dream and passion with you. And it makes our organizations what they are.
Absolutely. We're as strong as our community, right? We're driven by the needs of our community. And every single dollar counts, right? Like a Facebook fundraiser is an easy, quick way to raise some additional funds. Donate buttons, all those little things. You know, people got stimulus checks, not to like put anyone on the spot, but some folks have bucks that maybe tell them to share. So absolutely support local organizations, dealers. You guys are entirely volunteer based, and in order to be able to do the things you do, you need funds, right? I think what's so cool is we're grassroots, right? We start from a dream, a vision, not even a dream, maybe just an activity or an action that leads to, you know, kind of this series of events. And we support one another, right? Our communities surround us and carry us on this journey. So we're calling on our communities. Anyone that's listening, check out Hope Dealers. The website's in the feed. Hope Dealers, BTC.com. Needs are listed. Every dollar counts. So if you give $5 and you tell, I always say this, if you give $5, you tell 5 friends to give $5. They tell 5 friends to give $5. Really adds up. So no amount is too big or small. Ladies, thank you so much for joining. I just love and adore you so very much.
We love you back.
Love you. Sorry about the audio feedback stuff. I need technical help. That's a separate story.
I can't wait to hug you, Yana.
I can't wait to have the two of you. Thanks for to our listeners or the people on the feed. Thanks for joining. I hope to see you ladies soon, and be safe out there. Continue to do the amazing work that you're doing.
Thank you, Yana. We love you.
Love you. Thanks. Bye. Bye, everyone.